That's crazy.
So Dave's doing an...
Look at it from the top view like you're in a plane or a bird flying overhead, or you look at it from this side view. And looking at it from the side view, I would point out two things. It's got a big hat, yeah? Big sombrero. And so the idea is the big sombrero is going to keep it dry. You know, that's why we want a big hat in this case. This is just like if you were out in the weather, you want a big hat. And most buildings around here in New England, you look at my aunt's house across the street, the red house right there, it has no eaves. You see how there's no built out? But they used to do that because of the building materials they had at the time, and they were concerned about ice dams and so forth. But if you can think out of that box.
No ice dams.
No ice dams. This is an unheated structure. You know, this is a great application. The snow comes right off this. It's a very steep roof, but you want to keep it dry. And for the same token, like the stem wall on this side, we use block built up from Alaskan Slab Foundation. Built up this block wall in 2 courses at least, because sometimes when we don't have the gutter, we'd still get a drip here. So we're concerned about the drip. Anything that gets wet, wood and wetness don't mix too good. You can see where we left the door open consistently now, and this right here, this wood is degrading, as opposed to this wood here that doesn't see steady wetness. Yeah. So it's just, you know, it's the proof is in the pudding. This door right here, this has been out in the weather. It's going to die before this that hasn't. So you're just trying to keep stuff dry. The rule of thumb is, you know, a great big hat and steady, solid foundation. You know, good boots. So you got good boots and good hat. Your walls aren't likely to just spontaneously, you know what I mean? Yep. If your walls are solid, things are square and plumb, then from there it either rots from the bottom. You always hear about buildings losing their sill, or you get a leak on the roof, or the roof's not providing adequate protection to your sill, to your base plates. So, but in here, this is where the oxen live. And then when you back here to the top view and the overall view, you got hay storage up there. So in the wintertime, you don't have to go anywhere. You know, you bucked up all the hay in the summer, and you just drop it down to them. You know, everything's right here because it's going to get snowy at some point. And then you chip your wood chips in here. So you got adequate bedding under cover. And there's a side door, you can just load them up. You got your water right here. Got electricity if you need to keep the water dry, your lights, everything's set up. Little mini system happening right here. This mini system provides the oxen adequate housing and also provides us with a soil builder. These wood chips get thrown underneath the oxen. So that's nice for them. They get a little bed every night, but then they poop in it and they pee on it and they mix their hay all in with it. And what we get on the far end of that is soil. In the long run, it starts out as a pile of poop and wood chips and hay, but then it composts and you get soil out of it. So that's what we're looking for. Let's keep moving. We'll come back here. You guys can ask some more questions or whatever. Alright. So, but yeah, the oxen are... Yeah? Yeah. So when they were young, they got taken to the doctor, and that made them gentle and kind.
That's what makes them an oxen instead of a bull, right?
If you remember Pamplona,
yeah.
You know, where they take people and they put people in front of bulls and the bulls run them down, and they have like bullfights and stuff where people go in there with swords. These guys are gentle and kind, and you can work with them, and they're not aggressive and violent. They're not driven to that, and it's because they don't have testosterone. And it's a real lesson for humanity as well, because there's a lot of problems caused by testosterone and letting that affect your judgment. Much like a bull, even though he might know better, he knows he should run from some people, would try to attack him. I've seen a bull get loose in a fairgrounds. It's crazy stuff. But yeah, bulls are very aggressive, but the only difference between him and a bull is like I said, we were living down in that barn, and we came up here, we the snow was that deep. We just throw those beams on the ground, onto piles of snow up beside the tree, and then started building a little cabin on it. And the idea was to build up something that was out of the wetness, you know, more or less having the boots underneath it to try to keep it dry. What we didn't think about as much is it's hard to keep them dry because the moisture seeps down the sides on the trees. It's hard to keep a good roof on these sort of structures. While we're here, shoot, check out this stone wall. I didn't build this. People come up here with shovels in the 1800s, shovels and axes, and probably not much more than that. You know, 2, 3, 4 generations ago, what have you, in 1800 odd, the people that built the red house and the barn down the way come up here with, you know, like I said, not much more than the clothes on them and a hammer or a shovel or whatnot, hardly being able to make nails. And they built these walls and did the farming up here. So when you see that around here, it makes you, inspires you a lot to be hard working, because, you know, like I said, only 200 years ago, people were out here with their bare hands and did quite a bit of work. What we're trying to do, what we'll see up here is take a hold of some of their wisdom, because they pick good land to utilize. Like, we sort of utilize that wall as part of the pasture for our oxen. So basically, the settlers would come up here and pick the flat land as a farm. So I pick out where the stone walls are and trying to see where the trees have grown up. They'll take the trees out and follow their example. Yeah, these aren't really big pigs even.
These aren't big pigs.
These aren't big pigs. They get bigger.
Oh my God.
But they are starting to breed. These two have both had litters, and the one in the house is on, this is her second litter. You can open up the top of that and see in there, and there's some piglets. But basically, you know, you have this old stone wall. But once again, the settlers come up here.
Oh my God, it's big. Oh, they're over there.
Oh yeah.
They do get cold. We're gonna get them another bale of hay and put them over there.
It's Mama Pig.
Ooh.
Circumstance, if you're an outdoor pig, you learn to get along. You know, make do with your differences, and everybody be quiet and just snuggle. You know, because it gets cold. Working all day, busy. While we were in there eating breakfast, these guys were turning over this field for us. Because we're going to want a garden in here, so we talked to them about it, and we said, you guys, we want to move in here and do some gardening. We want you to turn the rocks and fertilize the field, you know, and eat all the weeds and stuff. And they said, okay. It's just like that. You just have to talk this stuff through. And they're willing. They really like to work. I don't know why everybody doesn't work with their animals like this. You know? But it's also really good to eat when you get hungry.
Yeah.
Which is part of it. You know, there is a cycle that we're trying to observe, and we try to be as respectful as possible. These animals are our livelihood. And so we're working from the bottom of this field to the top, and each time when it rains, it reads the nutrients down the slope. And so you'll see down there where we set up garden space, and more or less what we do is just take the fence and move it up the hill, and then come in and set up rows of potatoes, usually is what we tend to grow first, and then hill them up through the year, and then you have the next year you have rows of whatever you want to plant. But you got, you know, you're on your P's and Q's. And one of them wasn't as wise as the rest of them, and so apparently one of them told him to pee on it. That's not what you want to do. That's not what you want to do.
Oh,
He keeps rubbing it.
Jeez, that's not healthy.
He's trying to get his.
Not healthy. But when he got that off his knees, he that must have hurt. Anyway, we should keep moving.
Yeah.
Nice and warm.
Sounds good.
Boy, oh boy. Everybody get enough of the piglets? Usually people can really get into them. You guys
That's the pile right over there. Help compost.